part of his package was that he was a gay man. And therein lies a lot of the opportunity where I think doors open for him that would not have definitely not been open otherwise, that were not open here in this country for him. And that kind of acceptance outside of this country, which allowed him to be freely who and what he was, without having anybody question or challenge it, was why he left in large part. So you find, again, you're looking forward, you're trying to find ways of connecting a lot of these elements together. You see the issues with religion, you see the connection to the father and the dominance of the father. And you see the father repeatedly brought up in his literature. The father's in Blues for Mr. Charlie. The father is actually in large part in the characterization of Sister Margaret in his play in Man Corner. And the actual father is addressed in large part in his essay that's in The Fire Next Time. The work that really kind of gives you an biographical background of his life and the motivations of what brought him to a public intellectual life. Why do we need to continue to talk about him? As I said, the documentary, a number of his best-known works are actually now 40, 50 years old, and a number of his other works were denounced for their quality. I think the reason why we need to continue is because there was a misstep in large part in examining some of his nonfiction and fictional works, specifically his novels of the 60s and 70s. They talked about A Beale Street to Talk, which was a book that really did try to address some of the frustrations that existed after the Civil Rights Movement, after a decade of watching women go to funerals wearing black for Mark, for Malcolm, for Robert, for John. You start questioning exactly when the changes actually going to occur. And all of that is expressed in Beale Street. But there's another book of his that I think is completely ignored today. I don't know how many of you remember, I'm now an old man, so I know a lot of these things. But it said 1979, between 1979 and 81, in Atlanta we had the Atlanta child murders, where 28 children and 2 adults were killed systematically. And there was a suspect found, another young black man named Wayne Williams, who was not prosecuted for any of the deaths of the children, but for the 2 male adults, who was convicted and to this day still speaks to his innocence. That subject became something of interest to James Baldwin. And the last non-fictional book that he wrote before his passing was The Evidence of Things Unseen, where in large book form he actually examined the Atlanta child murders and examined them specifically in large part to try to address some of the gross inadequacies of the investigation that occurred in Atlanta. The railroading of Wayne Williams, the fact that right after the conviction in '82 of Williams, 5 of the children that were part of that murder had their cases reopened by the new sheriff of DeKalb County, and he found that there was evidence of others who had been accused of murdering that. All of this is all drawn up in the book by Baldwin. All of these things were addressed by him. Because one of the things that's part of the railroading of Williams, one of the elements that was never really presented as carefully as it could have been in the media, was that the reason why he was chosen, the reason why Williams was chosen as the suspect, the reason why Williams was pinpointed and aimed at so strongly, was that he was a man who was supposedly bisexual, and that two adult males, the only 2 people he was accused of having killed, were also gay. And there was a suspicion, and part of that what they were trying to do was find somebody who they saw as somebody outside of the norms of society, somebody who they wanted to pinpoint a crime on so that they could solve and address it, and they could throw him away. He still sits in jail today, but there's a number of questions that are still surrounding that case. This became something of great interest to Baldwin, because Baldwin believed in trying to fight for justice in any way, shape, or form. And although that he had not seen him address it in a larger sense prior to this, that book actually brings up to bear a number of elements of evidence that both the prosecution and the defense didn't address in the case, and in large part are still ignored today, because there's still a number of questions, suspicions that some of the children that were killed systematically by hate groups as opposed to as one individual. So Baldwin's breadth of work actually covers a whole host of things. That issue became something of importance to him, speaks to his continued interest in trying to challenge the system of this government and trying to get justice for individuals. You also saw in the documentary how they talked about he in his later life became more of an educator, teaching and working. And in actuality, I think they de-emphasized the fact that he had been doing that pretty much for a large part of his life. He always believed in the importance of conversation and engagement with young people. And in fact, that was one of the things that he found so exciting and was inspiring to him. One of his high school teachers was County Cullen. He was mentored by Richard Wright, somebody who he idolized. These were people who stepped up and helped him out and actually helped get him the grant that allowed him to get his first trip to Paris, in fact. So in large part, he understood that people of letters, people of means should actually assist in helping the next generation move forward. In large part because he thought that was the way you created a legacy, not through plaques and awards and recognition, but actually having legitimate impact on people. The books, he said, he assumed would stay around and continue to be people who didn't have great exposure to, but it was about the one-on-one engagement with individuals. It was about inspiring somebody to think beyond the parameters that they have been exposed to in either an educational system or what they've been told by a parent or what they've been told by some other authority figure that they can or cannot do, to seek out and examine what more they can accomplish, to be bold, to take risks, to be willing to fail in large part, because that's actually how we move forward. My grandmother was notorious for saying that falling is just moving forward faster. And in large part, she was a very positive minded person. And in large part, I think that was also the movement of, that was also the of James Baldwin. You want to talk about some of his plays, be it Bluesman, Mr. Charlie, or The Amen Corner. In many cases, these plays are addressing the same themes that you see in his essays, you see in his social criticism. You saw Al Freeman Jr. and Diamond Sands doing the scene from Bluesman, Mr. Charlie, one of his best-known plays. But you also see that evidence in The Amen Corner, another play which deals with, in large part, deals with the conflicts of generations, fighting against one another, the constrictions that are placed upon the identity from a very strict religious point of view, and also the power of love to overcome even the most challenging circumstances. All those things are addressed in both that play. And ironically, the conflict between the mother in Amen Corner, Sister Margaret, a storefront preacher, and her son David, is not unlike the challenges that one would assume he had with his own stepfather. I'll stop there and I'll actually open up the floor. I could talk more on him, but I don't think you came here to just hear me ramble on. I think Baldwin is a phenomenal individual and a great great mind, and we would be better suited if we actually had more people like him in our society today, actually speaking. Yes, sir.